Okay, we are back live. We are having some technical difficulties. It is raining where Shelly's at, and we think that maybe that's what's causing her to go off the feed every now and then. So hopefully she'll be able to come back and join us, and we can talk more about her side of Jerry. But until that happens, we're gonna talk with Caryn a little bit and see if we can find out more about her side of Jerry. So, Caryn, you added several touches that were just specifically your touches to the story. So, can you tell us a little bit about how you decided to do those specific things?
Sure. The biggest one I think everybody loves is the pug. Um, and Shelly and I talked about, we actually decided when I am illustrating, I really need my characters to have names. So I had asked her if she had any names that she wanted to come up with, and we kind of brainstormed together, and we ended up naming him Burrito. So that is kind of the.
I didn't hear that. So he has a name.
He tends to be a favorite already of people who are seeing it. And the reasoning is I do a lot of research with picture books, and there's just, it always goes better if there's kind of a third character, like a different storyline. I mean, growing up, I used to read a lot of Mercer Mayer, and he has like a little spider that appears in all of his books, and like there's just kind of this extra element. And I wanted it to be a dog that seemed, and my goal was Jerry's not scary, but Burrito's terrified of him, and so I needed a dog that looks kind of quirky to begin with, and I have a couple friends who are obsessed with their pugs, and that made it easy for me for research because they're constantly posting pictures. But he's also just incredibly fun to draw.
Yeah.
I think other stuff I added. I don't know. Did you have something else in mind of the watch? Yeah. So when I was doing the color process and trying to decide Jerry's color, I gravitated towards the greens. I'm obsessed with green personally, and it fit him really well. And then I wanted a complementary color, and I kept coming back to like the pops of hot pink. I think mostly influenced. My husband is really obsessed with hot pink, and it's kind of ironic because it doesn't really fit his very modern design personality. But when he was a little boy, he loved hot pink, and that is kind of, he wears a hot pink watch now. Kind of influenced it. It was one of those things like, oh, this would be so fun if Jerry had some fun accessories. It started with his horns. His hot pink horns came first. And then like the toenails. And then I was like, he's got to have one more thing. He's got to have, I originally had a bow tie on him when I was drawing him, and it was going to be like hot pink, but the watch fits his personality a lot better.
Sure. Well, and for me, it was, I remember when we were first talking about, I think you had done the character sketches, was the first time that we actually saw the watch and the pug. And it was kind of like, well, of course he has a dog. Of course he does. And then the next thing was, oh yeah, of course he has a hot pink watch, And so I thought it was really funny for me because, I had read Shelley's manuscript, and I had talked to you, I think on the phone, and we had had a few discussions back and forth, but I really had this like picture in my head of what Jerry was going to look like. I knew he was going to be kind of big and like his size and all of these aspects of him were a little scary. But then it's just like, well, he's just really a big teddy bear, And so I was thrilled when I saw the original character sketch of Jerry, and it was like, okay, not only does he embody everything that I saw Jerry embodying, he also had these nice little touches that kind of even made his personality even more so. And I don't think people can truly appreciate what the pug brings to the story until they actually see the book and see the pug interacting with Jerry. There's a great scene. My favorite scene probably in the whole book is where Jerry and the pug are looking under the bed. And their heads are hanging. I think the pug is hanging one way, and And for me, that was like one of the spreads that it was like, oh, this has to be right. You know, the two of them, it's like this, they have this great connection because the pug is like, is there a you know, I mean, and so it was like a really, to me, that was one of the great moments of the book where you kind of see Jerry interacting with the pug in such a unique and funny way. And it makes the emotions, to me, the pug brings out the emotions that Jerry has in great ways. And so I thought it was an awesome touch where, and I love that when illustrators do that in books, people watch for that. So I was really excited to see that happened with this particular book because, you know, Jerry was so special to me in so many ways. And so sometimes people ask me how I pick manuscripts, and I always say that it has to pass the Ben test, and that Ben is my 12-year-old, and Jerry was past the Ben test with flying colors, you know. And I think that when I think I had sent it to you and we had talked about it, and I think you had the same reaction, like, oh, this is a book that has to be made, you know. So what mediums do you use to create your artwork?
I'm generally a watercolor artist. I prefer, for like a lot of illustrations that I do a lot of pen and ink. And so I have some very specific pens that I love to use. And so Jerry is watercolor and then pen and ink outlines.
Okay. How long did it take you to complete him?
Well, we started in October. So what is that? 11 months, I guess?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe 10 months considering he's been done for about a month. So.
Sure. I would think that's probably it. It probably, wouldn't you say that the color part probably took the bulk of that 10 months?
Actually, for me, the layout takes the longest.
Okay.
That the character sketches and the color like choices came early on, and we did the cover first for Jerry.
Yeah.
And the longest stretch, and I remember pushing my deadline several times with you, was getting those sketches, those original layout sketches. I make a lot of like little picture book dummies. They're the actual size, but they're like shrunk down, and I do that so that I can flip pages and make sure the page turns are strong, and I read them to my kids a lot, and like just feel it out and make sure it's working. And that just took the longest. I changed a lot of things in those first early stages. It's a lot harder to change once I've gone into the painting stage. At that point, especially with watercolor, I don't have a lot of time to fix things, so I actually would have multiple drawings out and ready, and I would do as many as I could in the time that I could had everything mixed up and could fit it in.
Sure. Well, I totally agree. And the process, I know that if people follow you on Instagram, they kind of got led into some of the processes where you had little sneak peeks along the way. And one of the things that really fascinated me with your process was when I think you posted a picture on Instagram where you had all of the pages lined out. And I'm not sure at what stage this was. I just remember the visualization of all of the pages lined out, I guess, across your living room was such a, like, wow. I would, I get the pages in PDFs and JPEGs. And so I don't ever get the experience of having these big pages laid out. And so when you did that, did you have like this huge sense of accomplishment, or what does that feel like as an artist to see it like laid out like that?
It was a really big deal. I actually did it twice. I can't remember if I photographed both times. The first time I did it when all the original drawings were done, and we had nailed down. We said, "This is it. This is the flow." But it was so crazy to step back and see the whole book. And I remember it was very late at night, and my husband and I both like walked along the line, like reading it as we went. That was really the first time we had seen it full size. I did the illustrations actually full size, so I could, you could get a good feel for it. And then I did it again as I finished painting them. because I painted them out of order. So it was nice to finally see them come together and that the order was right and everything felt good.
So did you change anything after you did that?
Yeah, there were a few things that got changed up until the proof when we changed one final little image. But yeah, there weren't, I don't remember there being any major changes. There was one image, I don't actually remember which one it was, I have to look through. I didn't like how it turned out, so I ended up redrawing and re-inking it and repainting it. But it was really just, once I have a final drawing, I use a light board to transfer it to my watercolor paper. And so I just had to go back to my original drawing and re-transfer it and paint it. So it wasn't as big of a deal as if I had to start all over again. But yeah.
That's awesome. So what are you currently, I know you have another project that you've been working on that has just completed. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's a poetry book by Raven Howell that actually surprised us both by launching this weekend. We were thinking it was coming in November, but we found out at the back. But it's a little poetry book that Raven Howell did through Kelsey Books, and I did. Raven initially came to me because she's doing a book review at Fairport, and she came to me and asked if I would just do a cover for her, and we had a lot of fun with that process. It was kind of a good break from Jerry because it was very different, and it gave me some creative inspiration to keep me going. I was losing momentum in the middle. And then she talked to the Poetry Press and asked if there was a chance that I could do some black and white illustrations with inside, because I do a lot of just pen and ink, no color, or I prefer to do one color if I can add a color. And so we ended up doing 7 internal illustrations. They were really fast and really fun, and it was just kind of a joy to do. Yeah, the whole book is about stars and sun and moon. Just it's. I was amazed at the amount of things that Raven was able to write about that had some kind of connection with the sun and the stars and the moon, but I wouldn't have even thought of them. Like, there's one about a garden that's probably one of my favorites. It's hard to pick a favorite. There's a lot of them. I have not actually seen the final book yet, and so I'm still waiting to hold it in my hand and read it to my girls. Yeah, that's the current one that's coming next. It's out, but feels like it's coming next.
Yes, well, and Raven is so fun to work with. We're working on, she's also a Clear Fork author, so we've been working on Shimmer, her poetry book about night that's coming out next month, and she just has, I totally agree, she has all of these crazy ways of, she in the poetry book she worked on with us, she had a poem about Sandman and a poem about outer space and a poem about winter and then an owl. And so it's so crazy how she ties that theme together with all of these things you never think about associating. So I'm really excited you got to work with her, because she's really a joy in every way. So I'm always, I've told you this before, Caryn, but I'm just fascinated with your Instagram. I stalk you there. I'm unashamed to say that I stalk you. So I'm always curious to know where your inspiration comes from. Are you one of those people that you just see something and you think, oh, this needs to be a picture, or do you actually kind of plan it out, what you're going to post on Instagram? Is it just something that comes natural to you?
Instagram feed, my husband jokes to me all the time that I blow up Instagram quite often, so I'll just post it.
Embrace it.
I do. I mean, my bios overload Instagram. It came about in the middle of having both of my daughters. They're 5 and under. I needed a creative outlet, and I didn't really have the time and the space to be sitting down and sketching or drawing every day. But Instagram kind of became a big deal, and it was a great place for me to be able to use an artistic eye and capture things. I started using it before we moved to New York 3.5 years ago, but then New York City is just kind of a constant. There's so much going on. There's a lot of positive things about New York, and a lot of people have negative stereotypes about New York. So for me, a lot of it is not necessarily filtering what I see, but finding the beauty in what I see, because you can always find it. You just have to look really hard sometimes. And that just became a big deal for me. I don't plan, I'm not about posing them. There's been a few times my girls are in the middle of doing something and I'll be like, freeze, so that I can get it. I've never told them to like do this or stand here. Usually it's just trying to be fast enough with my phone and capture it before it disappears.
Well, let me tell you, when they become teenagers, you take pictures of them and then they say, this better not end up on Facebook.
I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, I think most of the people who follow me know I don't post their faces at all. My husband and I are very cautious about posting their side of the story. I'm trying to just post my side of the story,
Sure.
who I am. And so that's a big part of, it makes me more creative. Like when I can't just post every little thing. I mean, I'm still taking a ton of photos, but not everything. I always edit several hours later so that I have the time to think through and process and figure out what I feel is worth putting into my feed.
That's awesome. So if people wanted to find you on social media, what is your website and your Twitter handle and your Instagram handle?
Well, my website is smellingoranges.com, and everything else falls under that. My Instagram is Smelling Oranges. My Twitter is also Smelling Oranges. I have a blog that's my sketch blog. Everything can be found on my smellingoranges.com website, which we just updated, so that's kind of fun. Which it has a funny story. I don't know if you care. It's a long. Everybody always asks me what the Smelling Oranges thing is. Yeah. Some people say they smell oranges when they have a stroke. That's not where they came from at all. There's a long story from art school that I tend to say things out loud and I forget that nobody has heard the process of where I got to that statement. And so it's kind of I live a life of non sequiturs, and unfortunately I usually say the end even though I haven't given them the chain to follow. So that's where that came from. It was a joke, smelling oranges. It's kind of become my moniker for Instagram and everything. And I think it's easier to spell than my name. A lot of people can't figure out how to spell my name if I were to say, oh, find me, Caryn Schafer, So smelling oranges.
Well, that's awesome. I'll smell oranges with you, so I think it's definitely cute. And so I can't express to you how appreciative I am that you decided to let your debut book be Jerry and to work with us, because I think that just like Shelley created Jerry, I think that Jerry would not have been the same without you as the illustrator. And so I think that you both left your mark on this book, and it's something that you both need to be very proud of. So
thanks for giving me the opportunity. It's been crazy but fun.
Yes. Well, the book making process is sometimes interesting for everybody involved.
I don't think most people realize what goes into making a book.
Yeah. So Jerry is now available on the Clear Fork publishing website. There is a link to it on the homepage under Monsters Have Taken Over Spork. And it's also available on barnesandnoble.com and Amazon. And if you have a Barnes and Noble card, I believe that you can actually get a discount on it if you buy it that way. So that might be something that people want to do. But I greatly appreciate your time, Caryn, and I'm really sorry that Shelley could not join us and tell us, but hopefully we'll be able to set up a separate time when it's not raining there to also talk with her a little bit about Jerry. But and then I will post this to our Clear Fork Publishing blog later today for people to view. So
great.
All right. Well, have a great day, Caryn. Thank you so much.
Thanks for talking.